The stars were quiet as the Empire's fleet entered the edge of the solar system. Hundreds of warships glided forward, their metal hulls shining like blades against the black sky. For the aliens of the Empire, this was supposed to be an easy mission. Earth was just a small planet with no known defenses. Their records called it primitive, unprepared, and weak. The fleet commander, Admiral Threx, sat in his chair with a cold smile. He had destroyed many worlds before, and to him, Earth would be no different. But something about the silence disturbed him. Normally when the Empire invaded a planet, there were panic signals, desperate calls for help, or at least signs of surrender. But Earth said nothing. No distress, no resistance, no sound at all. It was as if the humans were waiting. The Admiral pushed the thought aside. His fleet was too strong, too advanced. Against the Empire, silence only meant fear. The ships pressed deeper into the solar system. Mars passed behind them, its empty surface offering no challenge. The alien soldiers on board celebrated, laughing and drinking, ready to crush another world. But then, the sensors began to pick up strange signals from Earth. They were not normal military transmissions. They were coded, broken, almost like whispers in the dark. The communications officer frowned. "Sir, the humans are transmitting something, but it is not standard. It feels wrong." The Admiral growled. "Ignore it. They are scared. Soon their fear will be complete." Still, the officer hesitated. He had never seen patterns like this before. They were not random. It was as if the humans were speaking to something unseen, something hidden. The closer the fleet moved, the stronger the signals became. Some ships reported interference in their systems. Others reported shadows moving across their sensors, phantom ships that appeared and then vanished. The Admiral slammed his fist on the armrest. "There are no phantom ships. This is a weak world. Do not let fear control you." But deep down, a seed of doubt began to grow. Far away on Earth's surface, hidden inside mountains, under oceans, and deep within old cities, humans were awake. They had prepared for this day for a long time. Generations had watched the stars and known that someday an invader would come. Now that day had arrived, and humanity was ready. They did not send distress signals because they wanted the enemy closer. They wanted the Empire to think Earth was helpless. From orbit, the planet looked calm, silent, defenseless. But under the silence was something far more dangerous than the Admiral could imagine. The alien fleet entered orbit around the moon. The Admiral looked at Earth on the screen. Blue oceans, white clouds, green lands, it looked peaceful, almost fragile. He sneered. "Such a soft world. Soon it will burn." His second-in-command asked, "Do we begin the bombardment?" The Admiral nodded. "Yes. Let us remind these humans who controls the galaxy." Cannons warmed up, engines shifted position, and the great fleet prepared to fire. But before the order was given, the lights across the bridge flickered. One of the destroyers suddenly lost power. Alarms rang. The Admiral turned sharply. What happened? The technicians struggled with the controls. Unknown interference. Systems shutting down. It feels external. The Admiral cursed. Then, through the silence of space, a single voice cut through their communication channels. It was human. Calm. Cold. The voice said only one sentence. "We see you." The bridge went silent. No one spoke. The soldiers looked at each other with unease. Then the voice vanished, leaving nothing but static. The Admiral roared in anger. "Find that signal. Track it now." But there was nothing to track. It had come from everywhere and nowhere at once. The Empire's soldiers, trained for war, suddenly felt something they had never felt before. Fear. The Admiral tried to push forward. "Prepare weapons. Earth will learn fear. Fire on my command." But just as the order formed on his lips, the sensors lit up again. Strange energy readings surged from Earth's surface. Unknown, unclassified, and far stronger than anything the Empire had recorded before. A junior officer shouted, "Sir, something is powering up on the planet. It's not natural." The Admiral's eyes widened. He leaned forward, staring at the screen. Earth was not silent. Earth was not helpless. Something was waking up. And for the first time, Admiral Threx wondered if his fleet had made a mistake. Far below the stars, Earth remained quiet. Cities carried on their daily life as if nothing was happening above. Children played, people walked the streets, lights burned in towers, and not one soul looked to the skies. But under the surface, beneath the calm face of the planet, shadows moved. Deep in hidden bases under mountains, in secret tunnels carved into the rock, in chambers that stretched under oceans, humanity prepared. Generations had lived in secrecy, training, building, and waiting for the day the invaders would come. That day was now. A man stood inside one of the underground control centers. His name was Commander Hale. His eyes were sharp, his face marked with years of planning for a war no one else in the galaxy believed humans could fight. He looked at the giant screen showing the alien fleet above. They were powerful, yes, but they had already fallen into Earth's trap. "They think we are weak," Hale said, his voice low, steady. "They think we will beg for mercy. But tonight, the galaxy will see what Earth truly is." Around him, men and women worked at consoles, monitoring energy flows, activating hidden weapons, and decoding alien signals. Every heartbeat brought the Empire's fleet closer to destruction. Still, above the ground, ordinary citizens did not know the full truth. The governments had hidden everything. To the public, there was no enemy, no war, only peace. But hidden agents walked among the streets, blending into the crowd, watching the skies. At night, they whispered coded phrases into small devices, passing orders from the underground command. In one old city, an agent stood on the roof of a broken building, scanning the horizon. The moon glowed above, and beyond it he could see faint glimmers of the alien armada. His voice was quiet but firm as he spoke into his communicator. "The wolves are here. Shadows are moving." The message reached Commander Hale instantly. He turned to his officers. "Good. They are in position. Keep them waiting. Do not attack yet. Let them feel safe. Let them believe." Hale's plan was simple but deadly. The aliens expected fear. Instead, Earth would give silence. Silence was the bait. The Empire would not see the strike coming until it was too late. Back in space, the Admiral of the alien fleet grew restless. He looked at Earth on his screen. So peaceful, so unguarded, so foolish. "They are doing nothing," he growled. "Pathetic." But his officers looked uneasy. Reports came in of strange signals, strange energy, and shadowed structures hidden in the oceans. The Admiral ignored them. "Fire on the planet. Show them power." But before he could give the final command, a deep pulse traveled through space. Invisible waves of energy moved outward from Earth, touching the alien ships like fingers of electricity. Screens flickered, systems glitched, and pilots screamed as their controls shifted without reason. The Admiral stood, his jaw tight. What is happening? But no one could answer. On Earth, Commander Hale watched the readings with calm eyes. "Phase 1 complete," he said softly. The underground bases had activated their shield field, a net of energy that spread across the planet like a second skin. It did not glow, it did not shine, but it was there, invisible and deadly. The aliens had no idea what they had stepped into. In the dark tunnels, soldiers loaded weapons, armored suits, and heavy cannons. They were not afraid. They had trained since birth. This was their moment, their destiny. In a hidden chamber, deep below the Pacific Ocean, a massive machine came alive. It was older than any human could remember, built in secrecy, kept hidden from the world itself. Its engines began to hum, its lights glowing in the dark water. One by one, similar machines woke across the planet. The shadows of Earth were rising. Above, the alien fleet tried to stabilize. The admiral shouted at his men, but systems still flickered. Some ships reported phantom signals appearing on their radars, giant objects moving just below Earth's oceans, too large to be natural. "What are these readings?" one officer shouted. "They are everywhere." But the admiral refused to believe it. "Ignore them. Fire now." Yet before the order could be carried out, the human voice returned. Cold, calm, and impossible to locate, it echoed inside every alien ship. "We warned you. We are awake now." The soldiers froze. Their hands trembled at their stations. The admiral roared in rage. "It's a trick. Fire at once." But nothing fired. Systems had locked themselves, overridden by something the Empire could not control. The admiral's heart pounded. For the first time in his long career, he felt something alien to him. Not anger. Not pride. But fear. On Earth, Commander Hale smiled faintly. "They still think they control the battlefield. Soon, they will learn the truth." He looked around at his officers, his soldiers, his people. "This is not the age of empires. This is the age of Earth." In the hidden tunnels, the shadows moved faster. The final preparations were nearly complete. Soon, humanity would show its teeth. And when it did, the galaxy would never forget. The alien fleet surrounded Earth like a wall of steel and fire. Their ships, sharp and dark, pointed their weapons at the blue planet below. Admiral Threx stood on the command deck, his cold eyes fixed on the screen. He wanted the silence to end. He wanted to see fire and destruction. "Target their cities," he ordered. "Let them see who owns the galaxy." His officers prepared the firing sequence, weapons humming with deadly energy. But before the order could be given, something strange happened. One of the alien cruisers suddenly broke formation. Its lights flickered, its engines died, and in a flash of white fire, the entire ship vanished. Not destroyed in an explosion. Gone, as if it had been erased from space itself. The bridge filled with shouts. "Sir, the cruiser is gone. No debris, no signal, nothing." The admiral's face hardened. "Impossible. Find out what happened." But before the sensors could answer, another ship vanished. Then, another. Panic spread through the alien ranks. They had not been attacked in any way they understood. No missile, no laser, no explosion, only silence and disappearance. In the underground base on Earth, Commander Hale watched the screen with calm eyes. His soldiers held their breath as alien ships blinked out one by one. "Phase 2 has begun," Hale said quietly. The shadows of Earth had moved. Hidden deep beneath the oceans, weapons older than the Empire's technology had awakened. They fired beams of energy so precise, so powerful, that alien ships never stood a chance. The beams did not explode. They simply erased matter, tearing it out of existence. The aliens had no defense. On the alien flagship, officers screamed into their consoles. "We cannot track the source. Ships are vanishing across the fleet." Admiral Threx gritted his teeth. "Counterattack. Fire everything on the planet." The order went out, and the alien fleet unleashed its fury. Thousands of weapons fired at Earth, blazing rivers of energy that crossed the sky. The people of Earth looked up in horror as night turned to fire. But the beams never reached the surface. High above the clouds, an invisible wall shimmered to life. The shield net absorbed the energy, bending it, twisting it, and then reflecting it back into space. Alien fire struck their own fleet. Several cruisers burst apart in flames, torn apart by their own weapons. Shock spread through the invaders. "It's impossible," one officer cried. "They should not have this power." The admiral slammed his fist. "It is a trick. It must be a trick." But deep inside, he felt the weight of fear pressing down. Humanity had not begged for mercy. Humanity had not tried to hide. Humanity had chosen the first strike. On Earth, Commander Hale spoke into the darkroom. "They wanted war. We will give them war. Target their command ships. Operators nodded and pressed glowing panels. Far below the seas, massive machines adjusted their aim. Another beam fired, this time striking the Empire's second-largest battleship. It vanished instantly, gone like dust in the wind. The Admiral watched in disbelief. A ship that had taken centuries to build was gone in less than a breath. His soldiers stared at him with pale faces. They had fought many enemies before, but none had ever done this. Earth was supposed to be weak, but instead it was rewriting the rules of war. The Admiral tried to regain control. Send out the drones. Find the source of their weapons. Now. Thousands of small scout ships flew toward Earth, but they did not get far. From the oceans, from the mountains, from hidden craters, new weapons awakened. Invisible pulses struck the drones, and in seconds, the sky was empty again. The humans had destroyed them without effort. The Admiral's hands tightened on the rail of his chair. He had underestimated Earth, but still, he would not surrender. "We are the Empire," he hissed. "We will not fall to one world." But the truth was already clear. The Empire had launched its invasion, and Earth had answered with annihilation. In the shadows of the underground base, Commander Hale whispered the words that would be remembered for centuries. "The first strike is ours." Above, the alien fleet trembled as ship after ship vanished into nothingness. The war for Earth had only just begun, and already, the Empire was losing. The void above Earth burned with chaos as the Empire's proud fleet crumbled. Dozens of ships had already vanished into nothingness, erased without warning, without sound, without chance to resist. The soldiers who had once laughed at Earth now sat frozen at their stations, fear crawling into their bones. Admiral Threx stood at the center of the flagship, his face pale, his claws gripping the rail so tight the metal bent under his strength. His voice shook with rage as he shouted, "Stabilize the fleet! Regroup at once!" But his officers hesitated, their hands trembling. Every time a formation was made, another human strike came. Cruisers disappeared. Destroyers flickered and were gone. It was as if Earth's weapons could see every move before it happened. "It's impossible," one officer whispered. "We are blind. We cannot fight what we cannot see." The Admiral slammed his fist against the console. "You will fight, or you will die by my hand." His voice roared across the bridge, but deep down, even he felt the cold truth. The Empire was not in control. On Earth, Commander Hale watched calmly from the underground command center. His soldiers monitored every alien ship, reading their patterns, predicting their movements. Earth's hidden network of sensors had been designed for this very moment. "The Empire is panicking," Hale said softly. "Good. Fear will break them faster than our weapons." His officers nodded. They had waited generations for this day, training in silence while the rest of the galaxy mocked humanity as weak. Now the mask was gone. Now the galaxy would see what Earth really was. In space, the alien fleet tried to retreat, pulling back toward the moon to regroup. But the moment they moved, Earth's hidden weapons fired again. A massive battleship, one of the Empire's most powerful, was sliced in half by a single invisible beam. Its glowing remains drifted silently across the stars. The panic grew worse. Soldiers screamed over the comms. Officers begged for orders. Some ships even turned and fled, breaking away from the formation in blind terror. The Admiral watched in fury. "Cowards! Hold the line." But they did not listen. Fear was stronger than his command. Inside the flagship, whispers spread among the crew. They had faced many enemies, but none like this. Earth had no star empire, no colonies, no fleets across the galaxy. And yet, here, on one single world, humanity was destroying the might of the Empire. The Admiral's second-in-command stepped closer, his voice low. "Admiral, perhaps we should retreat. Regroup. Learn their technology." The words cut like a blade. Retreat was unthinkable. The Empire never retreated. To retreat was to admit weakness, and weakness was death. The Admiral snarled, his eyes burning. We do not run from primitives. We crush them. But even as he spoke, another flash filled the view screen. Another destroyer was gone. The bridge went silent, the crew staring at the empty space where the ship had been. Their silence was heavier than any scream. On Earth, Commander Hale gave his next order. Target their communications. Isolate them. Make them deaf. Operators moved swiftly. A wave of human technology surged upward, cutting through the alien networks. Suddenly, ships could no longer speak to each other. Commanders shouted, but their voices reached no one. The fleet was broken, blind and deaf. The admiral's heart pounded as he realized what was happening. Earth was not just fighting with weapons. They were controlling the entire battlefield. Every alien ship was now alone, trapped in the dark. He shouted at his crew to restore channels, but nothing worked. Earth's shadow had wrapped around them. Across the fleet, soldiers began to whisper the unthinkable. We cannot win. They are not weak. They are death itself. The admiral heard those words and rage exploded in his chest. He raised his voice so all could hear him. We are the Empire. We do not fear. We will burn this planet even if it takes every ship. His voice shook the crew back to their stations, but the fear did not leave their eyes. On Earth, Commander Hale leaned forward, his face like stone. They will push harder now. Let them. They are already broken. And in that moment, the war shifted. The Empire had come to Earth with pride and power, but now they fought only with panic. They no longer sought victory. They only sought survival. The dark sky above Earth trembled with fire and wreckage. The once mighty fleet of the Empire now drifted in chaos, broken lines, and shattered discipline. Ships flickered with failing systems, soldiers shouted in fear, and commanders no longer trusted their own eyes. Every moment, more vessels vanished into silence, taken by human weapons that the galaxy had never seen before. Yet even in their panic, the aliens still clung to one fragile hope, that these strikes were the limit of Earth's strength, that the humans had revealed all they had. Admiral Threx held that hope tightly in his mind, whispering it to himself like a prayer. This is their trick, he muttered. They cannot have more. But on Earth, the shadows stirred. In the hidden bases under mountains and deep in the seas, final preparations reached their end. 4 years, humanity had hidden its true power, not only from the galaxy but from its own people. Governments spoke of peace, scientists spoke of progress, but in secret, builders forged war machines the likes of which no one could imagine. The order was ready to be given. Commander Hale stood at the center of the underground chamber, his face lit by the glow of 1,000 screens. Around him, officers waited for his voice. He spoke slowly, each word heavy with meaning. They came to enslave us. They came to burn us. Now they will see what Earth has kept hidden. His hand moved toward the command console. The room fell silent. Then, with a single word, he unleashed it. Rise. The oceans stirred. Waves crashed against coasts as the sea itself seemed to roar. From the depths below, shapes began to move, massive shadows that had slept in silence for generations. Water split as titanic warships emerged, each one larger than a city, their black metal gleaming in the moonlight. They were not fragile human crafts, but monsters built for one purpose: war. Across the planet, hidden hangars opened. Mountains cracked apart as enormous doors slid back, revealing fleets of aircraft no one had ever seen. They roared into the sky, their wings cutting through the clouds, engines screaming with power. Cities trembled as underground silos released missiles unlike any in history. They did not carry fire or metal. They carried something new, something born from human genius and desperation. Humanity's true army had awakened. In space, the alien fleet froze as the sensors lit with impossible readings. Ships, thousands of them, were rising from Earth itself. Energy signatures blazed brighter than anything in the Empire's records. Officers shouted, voices filled with panic. Admiral! New contacts! Hundreds, no, thousands, detected. Threx stared at the screen, his mind refusing to believe. Earth, a single planet, was unleashing a fleet greater than entire sectors of the Empire. His voice cracked. It cannot be. They were primitives. They were nothing. But before his words could steady him, the human fleet broke the clouds and soared upward. Giant dreadnoughts the size of moons led the formation, their cannons glowing with terrible light. Behind them swarmed smaller ships, agile and sharp, ready to strike. For the first time, the aliens saw the face of humanity's war machine, and it was not weak. It was terrifying. The first human dreadnought locked onto an alien cruiser. A single beam fired, brighter than the sun, and the cruiser vanished in silence. Another ship followed, then another. The alien fleet had no time to regroup. Earth's army tore into them with unstoppable force. The admiral felt his heart pound in his chest. His fleet was being hunted like prey. "Fall back," he roared. "Fall back now." But retreat was impossible. The humans pressed forward, their ships cutting through alien lines as if they were paper. On Earth, Commander Hale watched it all unfold. His voice was calm, his face hard as stone. "The mask is gone. Let the galaxy see what we are." Officers cheered as human ships claimed victory after victory. For centuries, humanity had been ignored, dismissed, called weak. But tonight, in the shadow of invasion, they had revealed the truth. They were not prey. They were not helpless. They were the storm that would change the galaxy forever. And in the silence of space, as alien ships burned and shattered, a single truth echoed in the minds of all who witnessed it: humanity was no longer hiding. Humanity had been revealed. The battlefield above Earth was no longer the Empire's arena. It had become humanity's stage. Where once the aliens believed they would conquer, now they fought only to survive. Earth's warships filled the skies like a storm, vast dreadnoughts and swift strike craft weaving through the enemy with impossible precision. Alien cruisers shattered under beams of energy, their remains scattering into the void. Admiral Threx stood frozen at the center of his flagship, his claws digging deep grooves into the metal railing. His officers shouted, but their voices blurred into meaningless noise. His mind could not understand what his eyes saw. Earth, the forgotten world, the planet of so-called primitives, had risen with weapons beyond imagination. He whispered to himself, "This should not be possible. They should not have this power." But denial could not change the truth. The turning point of the battle had already begun. On Earth, Commander Hale stood before the glowing screens of the Underground Command. His face was calm, but his voice carried the weight of destiny. "They have seen our strength. Now they will know our will." Around him, his officers worked in silence, their fingers moving swiftly across controls, sending orders to the fleets above. Hale's eyes fixed on the largest alien ships still resisting. "Break their command. Cut the head, and the body will fall." In space, 3 human dreadnoughts adjusted position. Their cannons pulsed with power, lines of light crawling across their hulls. Alien sensors screamed warnings, but too late. In one blazing instant, a wave of energy cut through the void and struck the alien flagship's escorts. 2 heavy destroyers vanished in silence, erased from existence. The admiral's ship shook as the shockwaves slammed into it. Lights dimmed, consoles sparked, soldiers screamed. Fear rippled across the alien bridge. Threx slammed his fist down. "We are the Empire. Fight back." But his words were drowned by another flash of human firepower. Alien ships, each carrying thousands of lives, burst into flames one after another. Panic spread like fire through the fleet. Some captains begged for orders. Others broke formation, fleeing into the darkness. For every ship that stayed, 3 more were lost. The admiral's second-in-command turned to him, desperation in his eyes. "Sir, we cannot hold this line. We must retreat, or we are finished." Threx bared his teeth, his pride warring against the terror in his chest. "We do not retreat from prey." But even as he said the words, another human attack ripped through a formation of battleships, leaving only wreckage where proud vessels once stood. The admiral's words felt empty. The Empire's greatest force was collapsing. On Earth, Hale watched quietly. He had no joy in victory. His face showed no smile, no celebration. "They came to enslave us," he said. "Now they run from us." An officer asked, "Sir, do we pursue them?" Hale's eyes were cold. "Not yet. Break them first. Leave no question in their minds about who we are." Above, human fleets moved like hunters circling wounded prey. Alien weapons fired desperately, but every shot was absorbed by Earth shields or destroyed before it reached its mark. The Admiral watched in disbelief as his most powerful weapons became useless. The humans had countered everything. He felt the weight of realization pressing down like iron. This war had already turned. It was no longer about winning. It was about survival. Across the galaxy, in hidden outposts and listening stations, other empires watched the signals of the battle. At first, they could not believe what they saw. But as the transmissions continued, the truth became clear. Earth, the quiet planet, had shattered the invincible armada of the Empire. Fear spread beyond the solar system. Whispers filled the stars. If Earth could destroy the Empire's fleet, what else could they do? On the flagship, Admiral Threx finally spoke, his voice broken but firm. "Order all ships to retreat. Scatter into the outer system. We must regroup." But it was too late. The humans had predicted this move. Commander Hale's voice echoed through secure channels, calm and sharp. "They want to flee. Do not let them. Cut their escape." Human fleets shifted, closing every path. Escape routes vanished as dreadnoughts blocked the way. The aliens were trapped. The Admiral's heart sank as he realized the truth. His fleet, the pride of the Empire, had been turned into prey. On Earth, Hale spoke again, his words heavy with finality. "This is the turning point. After tonight, the galaxy will never forget us." And as human weapons lit the sky, tearing the Empire's fleet apart, the future of the galaxy tilted. The age of the Empire was ending. The age of Earth was beginning. The Empire was collapsing, but it refused to accept defeat. In the burning remains of the once proud fleet, Admiral Threx ordered his surviving ships into a tight formation, his voice sharp and trembling with desperation. "Pull back. Regroup. Do not give them the skies," he shouted, but the fear on the bridge betrayed him. Around him, officers moved in panic, their hands shaking as they worked the controls, their eyes darting to the screens that showed human ships advancing with terrifying calm. Earth's forces moved like predators, cutting off every path of escape, their dreadnoughts glowing with power, their smaller strike craft circling like wolves around wounded prey. The Admiral's second-in-command leaned close, whispering, "Sir, we cannot outfight them. We must call for reinforcements. The Empire must know what has happened." Threx's jaw tightened, his pride bleeding away under the weight of truth. For the first time in his career, he felt something unfamiliar, fear that the Empire itself might not survive. He gave the order. A signal burst into the void, desperate and raw, carrying one message: emergency. Earth is not what we believed. Send everything. Across the galaxy, the Empire's capital world received the signal. In the throne chamber, high above the glittering city of Carvos, the Emperor listened in silence. Around him, generals and counselors murmured in disbelief. Reports came faster than they could read, an entire fleet annihilated, thousands of ships destroyed, human weapons beyond understanding. The Emperor's eyes narrowed. Earth. The primitive world. They dare to humiliate us. His voice shook with rage, but beneath it was unease. He turned to his generals. Mobilize the Second Armada. If Earth has strength, we will drown it in fire. But even as he gave the order, he knew the Empire's pride had been shattered. Whispers spread through the council chambers. Some questioned whether even the Second Armada would survive. Others, braver or more foolish, suggested negotiating with Earth. The Emperor silenced them with a glare. "We are the Empire. We do not beg. We take." Meanwhile, in the ruins of the solar battle, Admiral Threx's fleet fought with teeth and claws, throwing everything they had at the humans. Alien cannons glowed hot, launching endless fire into the void. Explosions painted the skies, but Earth's warships held firm, their shields shimmering like unbroken walls. Strike craft danced between the blasts, slicing apart the alien squadrons one by one. Threx watched his numbers fall, every screen showing more red than green, more losses than survivors. Desperation grew like a storm inside him. He slammed his clawed fist onto the console. "Send the rammers," he barked. Officers turned pale. To send rammers meant sacrificing ships, hurling them at the enemy in suicidal charges. But there was no choice left. Across the battlefield, massive alien cruisers ignited their engines, accelerating toward human dreadnoughts. For a moment, it seemed the tactic might work. One cruiser broke through the human line, slamming into a warship with a blinding explosion that shook the void. Cheers erupted on the alien bridge, but they died just as fast. As the smoke cleared, the human dreadnought remained, scarred, but unbroken. The cruiser had given its life for nothing. Another alien ship rammed, then another, and another. Each time, the humans endured. Their ships refused to fall. Threx's heart sank deeper with every failure. "Why won't they break?" he whispered, his voice hollow. On Earth, Commander Hale watched the suicidal attacks without expression. His officers glanced at him nervously, expecting orders to finish the enemy. But Hale remained still for a long moment, his eyes cold. Finally, he spoke. "They are desperate now. Desperation makes them dangerous. Do not underestimate them. But remember this, desperation is also weakness. Break them slowly. Let them see their end coming." The human fleet followed his command. They did not rush. They advanced step by step, destroying alien ships with merciless precision. The aliens fought with all they had, but their weapons failed, their courage faltered, their hope bled away into the void. On the flagship, Admiral Threx felt the weight of centuries pressing on him. His fleet was gone, his people scattered. He had believed the Empire invincible. Now he realized the truth. The Empire was vulnerable, and humanity had exposed it for all to see. He turned to his officers, his voice quiet and broken. "Survive. That is all that matters now. Survive long enough for the Empire to answer." The surviving ships obeyed, retreating into the darkness, broken and bloodied but alive. Humanity did not pursue. Commander Hale stood before the screens, his face a mask of iron. "They will run to their masters. Good. Let them. The Empire will send more. And when they do," he paused, his voice dropping to a whisper that carried through the command room, "we will be ready." The war had only just begun, but for the first time in history, the Empire fought with fear in its heart. The galaxy had shifted. Humanity had turned from prey into predator, and the desperate Empire could feel the change burning in its bones. The signal of the Empire's defeat had already spread across the galaxy, but it was Earth's answer that froze every world in terror. Humanity had remained quiet after the battle, letting the shattered alien survivors flee, but silence was not mercy, it was the calm before the storm. In the vast command chamber hidden deep beneath Earth's surface, Commander Hale stood before a wall of screens showing alien fleet movements across the stars. His voice was cold and sharp as he gave the order that no human had ever spoken before. "Unleash Earth's wrath." At once, hidden stations in orbit powered up, their weapons glowing like suns, and long silent launch silos opened on Earth's surface. The planet that the Empire once called weak and primitive revealed its true nature. It was not just a world, it was a fortress. Across the void, human dreadnoughts lit their engines, their hulls gleaming with power no alien eye had ever seen. Fleets that had been waiting in silence now moved as one, their formation tight, their discipline unshaken. And with them came weapons that defied the Empire's understanding. Gravity warheads that tore ships apart without fire, invisible cannons that could shred shields like paper, and massive kinetic strikes that fell like mountains from the sky. The first victims were not even the Empire's warships. Instead, human fleets struck their supply lines, cutting them off with terrifying precision. Convoys vanished into fire, outposts were reduced to dust, and communication relays were silenced one by one. The Empire's mighty reach across the stars shrank overnight, its proud banners falling in flames as humanity showed no mercy. Panic spread on alien worlds. Civilians whispered of human fleets appearing from the darkness, destroying everything, then vanishing without a trace. Governors begged the capital for protection, but the Empire had no answers. Its admirals scrambled to gather what remained of their forces, but every time they tried to regroup, human ships were already waiting, striking first, striking hard, leaving only wreckage behind. On the alien throne world, the Emperor raged at his council, his voice echoing through the chamber. They were supposed to be primitive. They were supposed to kneel. But the councillors no longer shared his certainty. One by one, voices rose with doubt. We cannot fight them. We must consider peace. If we continue, the Empire itself may not survive. The Emperor silenced them with a glare, but even he could feel it. The Empire was no longer feared. The fear now belonged to them. Meanwhile, in the solar system, Commander Hale watched reports of victory flow in. His officers cheered quietly, but Hale's face remained unreadable. This is only the beginning, he said. The Empire must understand what it means to threaten Earth. We do not forgive. We do not forget. His words carried like iron, and the fleet commanders obeyed without question. Human fleets pushed deeper into enemy space, not just defending Earth but striking back, bringing annihilation wherever they went. In one system, an entire shipyard fell in flames, thousands of alien vessels destroyed before they ever launched. In another, a fleet of 30 Empire cruisers was crushed in less than an hour, their wrecks left drifting as a warning. The galaxy was watching, and it understood the message: humanity's wrath was unstoppable. Yet beneath the victories, a darker truth stirred. Humanity was no longer fighting just for survival. It was fighting with vengeance, with fury built over centuries of being underestimated, dismissed, and ignored. Now that fury burned brighter than any star, and the Empire was its target. Even the soldiers of Earth felt the weight of it. Some wondered if this wrath would ever stop, or if humanity was unleashing something it could not control. But to Commander Hale, the answer was simple. He stood at the center of the storm, watching the Empire crumble, and his voice was steady. They wanted war, he said. Now they will have it. And when we are done, the galaxy will remember what it means to face Earth's wrath. The Empire had been shattered again and again, its fleets destroyed, its supply lines broken, its pride crushed under the iron hand of Earth, yet still it clung to life like a beast cornered and desperate. The Emperor, pale with fury, summoned the last of his warlords to the capital world, gathering every ship, every soldier, every weapon the Empire still had left. This would be the final battle, the last chance to break humanity's advance. Across alien space, huge banners of gold and black were raised, summoning countless ships to defend the throne. Vast armadas filled the skies above the Emperor's world, thousands of cruisers, carriers, and destroyers forming one last shield around the heart of the Empire. It was the greatest fleet ever assembled in their history, a wall of steel and fire meant to stand against the storm. The galaxy watched in silence, knowing that what happened next would decide the fate of empires. The aliens called it the last stand. But on Earth, in the command chamber deep below the surface, Commander Hale studied the enemy formation with eyes as cold as stone. Reports streamed in from scouts. The Empire had placed everything it had in one system, betting everything on survival. Hale did not smile, but there was a grim satisfaction in his voice when he spoke. They believe numbers will save them. They are wrong. Across the solar system, humanity prepared. War factories roared, launching new ships into the void. Fleets massed at the edge of human space, dreadnoughts and carriers forming into disciplined lines. Unlike the chaos of the Empire, humanity's power moved with precision, every ship an extension of Earth's will. When the order came, they advanced. The journey through hyperspace ended with the sudden silence before battle, the human fleet emerging at the edge of the Emperor's system. For a moment, the two armadas faced each other across the darkness, the Empire's numbers dwarfing the human fleet, But then the silence broke as Earth's ships advanced without fear. The first wave struck like thunder. Human gravity weapons ripped open enemy lines, shattering dozens of cruisers before they could even fire. Rail cannons launched slugs the size of buildings, tearing through carriers like paper. Missiles swarmed, their warheads bending shields and boiling metal in firestorms. The Empire fought back with everything it had, unleashing wave after wave of energy beams and torpedoes. Human ships burned, dreadnoughts shook under the storm, but they held the line. Humanity did not retreat. The last stand became a furnace of destruction, the void lit by thousands of explosions, debris fields stretching for light years. Alien admirals screamed orders, trying to rally their fleets, but everywhere they turned, humanity was there, cutting, striking, breaking their formations apart. Yet the Empire did not collapse easily. Its warriors fought with desperation, their ships charging even when doomed, their crews choosing death over surrender. The Emperor himself stood in his grand throne chamber, watching the battle unfold on colossal screens, his hands gripping the rail until his knuckles turned white. "We will not bow," he growled. "We will not fall to these humans." But even as he spoke, the reports came in. Entire wings of the fleet destroyed. Command ships gone. Defensive lines broken. Still he refused to accept defeat. He called it honor, he called it pride, but in truth it was fear, the fear of being remembered as the emperor who lost everything. Out in the void, humanity pushed harder. Commander Hale's voice echoed across every ship of the fleet. "This ends today. For every city they burned, for every life they took, we end them here." And his fleet obeyed. Human dreadnoughts surged forward, breaking into the heart of the enemy formation, unleashing fire so bright it blinded sensors. The Empire's proud armada, the greatest in its long history, was torn apart piece by piece until the skies above the capital burned with wreckage. The last stand was no stand at all. It was a slaughter. Still, some fought to the very end. Small groups of alien ships hurled themselves at humanity, refusing to flee, buying seconds of survival for their emperor. But it was useless. The storm could not be stopped. When the flagship of the last enemy admiral fell in flames, silence returned to the system. Wreckage drifted where once there had been thousands of ships. The Empire's last defense was gone. On Earth's flagship, Commander Hale watched the screens as the enemy fleet vanished into ruin. His officers cheered, their voices rising with triumph, but Hale did not join them. He looked toward the distant capital world, where the Emperor still waited. "This is not the end," Hale said quietly. "Not yet. But soon." For though the last stand was over, one question still remained: what fate awaited the Emperor himself, and what judgment humanity would bring upon the throne of the Empire. The Empire's skies burned red as the ruins of its fleet drifted like broken bones across the void, the once proud armadas now reduced to glowing wreckage, the last screams of its admirals fading into static, and on the capital world below, billions watched in horror as fire from the heavens rained down. The last stand was over, and humanity's fleet now surrounded the Emperor's throne world, engines glowing like suns, weapons locked, an unspoken judgment hanging heavy in the silence. In the imperial palace, the Emperor sat slumped on his throne, his golden robes scorched with ash from tremors shaking the city, his advisors begging him to surrender, but his pride would not let him speak the words. He raised his head to the great screens where humanity's fleet filled the sky and shouted with trembling fury, "We are the Empire! We will not kneel to these upstarts." But his voice cracked, for even he knew the truth: the Empire was finished. In orbit, Commander Hale gave no speeches, no warnings. His fleet had already given the Empire enough chances. The command was simple, cold, final: fire. The first salvo fell upon the outer defense towers, erasing them in blinding fire. Then came the missile waves, thousands of them streaking through the atmosphere, ripping apart military bases, weapons factories, and starports. Rail cannons followed, each shot tearing cities apart, leaving craters miles wide. The Emperor's capital world shook under the storm of annihilation, its once glorious cities collapsing into rubble, its armies disintegrating before they could even march. Still, resistance flickered in the streets, soldiers tried to fight, citizens screamed for salvation, but against humanity's wrath, none of it mattered. The world became a furnace. From orbit, oceans boiled, continents cracked, and the skies themselves turned to fire. Inside the palace, the emperor staggered as the ground split apart beneath him, chandeliers crashing down, walls crumbling, flames crawling through the throne room. He clutched the arms of his throne, whispering to himself that the empire could not die, that he was eternal. But when the roof split open and the light of Earth's weapons poured in, he finally understood. This was the end. Humanity had not come for conquest, it had come for judgment, and the sentence was total annihilation. Outside, survivors of the Empire's fleet tried to flee, their ships breaking orbit in desperation, but humanity hunted them down without mercy, each escape attempt ending in fire, each survivor silenced. There would be no seed of the Empire left to rise again, no hidden fleet, no secret colony. Earth had decided that the age of the Empire was over, and it was erased from history in fire and silence. When the final blast struck the palace itself, the Emperor's scream was swallowed by the roar of collapsing stone and molten fire, his empire vanishing with him in a single blinding flash. And then, at last, silence returned to the system. From orbit, Commander Hale watched the fires consume the once proud jewel of the Empire, his face unreadable, his voice calm as he gave the final order. Cease fire. It is done. Across the fleet, exhausted crews leaned back in their seats, some in stunned silence, some whispering prayers, all knowing they had witnessed the fall of an empire that had ruled for centuries. Where once the Emperor's world had shone like a beacon of power, now it was a smoking ruin drifting in the void. Humanity had done what no other race had dared, defied the Empire, fought its armies, and brought it to ashes. In that moment, the galaxy trembled, for all who watched now understood that Earth was no longer the hunted, no longer the weak. It was the new power, the new force that no one could ignore. The Empire was gone, wiped from the stars, and in its place stood humanity, unbroken, unstoppable, unchallenged. This was not just victory. This was total annihilation.